So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my director, Mr. Zwakele Ngubane, to officially welcome you to today's event.
Thank you very much, Ronel, a program director. I'd like to say Sanbonani, Dumelang, Intligani, Ndimasiari Khwedag, and good afternoon to you all. Welcome to yet another one of our monthly sessions as part of our Alumni Mentorship Program webinar series. Now, our Alumni Mentorship Program is geared towards ensuring that we contribute towards adequately preparing our students for the world of work, stroke business, stroke entrepreneurship. So I'd like to begin by extending a hearty welcome to Ms. Mandi Samtembu Mamvelase, who is our guest speaker for today. She will be addressing a very critical and important topic, especially on the back of just having gone through Women's Month. And I'd also like to welcome all of our colleagues, staff, students, alumni, and guests present. Now, I hope that you will enjoy and gain some value from today's presentation. Ms. Mandi Samtembu has a wealth of experience in this area, and we look forward to your presentation, Ms. Mtembu. I think that the issue or the topic of sexual harassment, GBV, and rape is one that, as much as it saddens us to have to address this issue on an ongoing basis, it's something that I believe we have to continue to address until we begin to see some major improvements in this area. We all know that South Africa is a very violent country. The statistics bear this out, even in comparison to other countries. And there are many social ills, and one of them is that of sexual harassment, gender-based violence, and rape, and all sorts of what I might refer to as social ills, especially perpetrated against women in our society. So having just gone through Women's Month, we felt it necessary to have this kind of presentation, and it's also important because we're talking about sexual harassment as well, and we know that we have many young students who will be graduating or who have graduated and have recently started working, who may experience these kinds of situations in the workplace. And it's important to be able to identify when some of the more subtle manifestations of these social ills confront them and know how to deal with them. So that is why we felt it important to address this topic as part of our alumni mentorship webinar series. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today, and welcome to today's webinar series. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ngubane. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Mandisa Mtembu, who is a private practice social worker that serves as a trauma counselor at the Jess Ford Foundation, which is a non-profit organization empowering rape survivors through educating, awareness, and support. Ms. Mtembu has 13 years of experience in this environment and believes her work in all these outreach programs ensures that our vulnerable people have a voice, which is a very critical part in her journey. So I'm going to hand you over to our very capable guest speaker for today, Ms. Mandisa Mtembu.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to join you in this monthly presentations. I'm hoping that the information that I will going to share with you today, it's gonna be helpful and the people will learn from it and be able to see what else and what more they could add up from the information that we have shared today. I also believe I need to start now, hey? Okay.
Yes, please. You can just put it on presentation mode. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. I will talk about what is sexual harassment. Is the topic that the organization is trying to address, which is sexual harassment in the workplace and the increase of GBV and rape. The discussion is about that. Let's look at what is sexual harassment. I so believe that it's one of the things, or it's one of the behavior that most of the time it could be an alarming point where a person need to take that very seriously when it's begun. Sexual harassment is an unwanted, improper, and even offensive sexual behavior, which could be either performed verbally or physically, whereby you see someone touching you without your consent of the of the sexual way of doing it. And sexual harassment can occurred in different circumstances. It cannot choose where exactly it is happening and at what time. And this behavior could be the behavior that any gender could possibly be an offender, meaning that it can be a woman who is the harasser, it can be a male, which most of the cases we find that the high number of people that, or the high number of gender that is normally noted, it's the male side, and mostly women are victims of sexual harassment in workplace, schools, and in different places. When we look at sexual harassment in the workplace, it is where we see, or it is where we hear or reports whereby a person can complain about the colleagues, the director, manager, supervisor, or anybody that is in power over you as a victim of the situation. Next point. Thank you. Okay, sexual harassment. I think I have tried to pick up some few pictures just to make people to see and understand that even some unnoted or noticeable touches could be possibly uncomforting and could be meant sexual harassment, like these examples, the one that we showed here, which could be taken slightly by another person who is not involved in the act. So I would like us to look at these pictures and discuss if it's possible, or if I can just go through, showed you the examples of the pictures that I have chose. Can we look at the next slide? Yeah, this is another form of sexual harassment, and in most cases you find that such harassment are not communicated, but the behavior of the next person, the things that or the way that he is touching the person who is a victim in the situation, is just doing the act and not saying anything. So we should take note of that it is also a sexual harassment act. Can you go to the next slide? This one also show that, because if you look at these two pictures here, you will see it's more like a lounge place, and the other person is trying to touch a lady inappropriately. Even you could see that there is different moves that the lady is trying to do. First, she tried to push away his hand, but continues. She even tried to pull back so that this person could see that she is uncomfortable with the behavior, but we're noting that it seems as if it continues. So looking at these inappropriate touches, it can happen even in as a way of grooming a person for sexual act, because most of the time the perpetrators or the offenders of sexual harassment, they're doing that so that they're trying to do these kind of touches, maybe talks in a way that the person at the end of the day, they are in an agreement of sexual act if it ever goes to that point. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, yeah, sometimes it cannot be the one that we have noted where a person touches you, but looking at this picture, we could see two male people here talking behind this young lady and seem showing kind of naughty checkup on her, of which you could find that this person have noted the behavior, or maybe sometimes has not noting it, but here it looked like she is noting the behavior. So such behaviors are not acceptable and should be corrected and strictly prevented. It can be done by the employment, by using the policies and the laws that are in place. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay. We also need to understand that all these forms of sexual harassment, they have a very bad impact at the end. Most cases we find that people who have been in such situation, they are affected emotionally, mental health wise, and even physically. When we look at how do they got affected emotionally, you find that when they are affected emotionally, they ended up having some, okay, here. They ended up having some anger issues, fear issues, feeling of shame, sometimes humiliated about the behavior, because you'll find that it happened to one person and other people started to gossip about the behavior that is happening, and you'll end up seeing as a person who was also involved or who is maybe allowing the behavior to happen to you. So some of the people, you find that they feel humiliated about it and even feel guilty about what is going on at that time. And then they can also affect it. There are so many other emotional effects that could take place, but just pinpoint the few. And it can also affect a person on in mental health, whereby you find that the person started to develop anxieties, panic attack, loss of motivation, and sometimes having difficulties in concentration, and that can even lower the performance at work. And again, it can also cause the physical effect, whereby it increases stress level to a person. When a person has so much stress, they're unable to perform and produce good work. Also, it can cause physical health like headache. When you are stressed, you normally bound to have headaches and other kind of problems. It can even cause eating and sleeping disturbances. So there are so many physical effects that the abuse or the harassment can do to a person who's going through the situation. Can you go for the next slide, please? All right. But what we need to look is that what can we done? First, it need to, or as the organization, we need to empower people. First, they need to act for themselves first, like paying attention to your own boundaries. Here, I'm trying to say, if the kind of behavior is happening to me as a person who is a victim in a situation, I need to pay attention of my boundaries, knowing what I want and what I don't want. So if I'm able to pay attention to my boundaries, I will always notice if someone is consistently getting closer to me, then I can create distance. You can also keep discussing about the person's behavior towards you, addressing what you want and what you don't want. Communicate about the person's behavior or the person's communication or the person's contact that you are not accepting. And then the other thing that you can do, communicate verbally, physically, exact what you want and what you don't want. Like when the person is touching you, don't keep quiet. Tell the person, I don't want to be touched. And sometimes even mention where exactly the person is touching you. At that time, you're still trying to fight for yourself, because in most cases, we've noted that if people are trying to come out reporting about such issues, you find that the person who are trying to help, they want to know, what have you done when this thing has been happening? So if it has been happening and you did not do anything, you ended up unable to get a proper help. So it is important, and we emphasize that, act on it. Let's go to the next one, please. Okay, state the behavior. State the behavior you're expecting going forward, meaning that if you have told the person everything that you don't want, tell the person, make the distance, trying to make a distance whenever they coming close to you, and then noting that, okay, once you started to discuss about it, tell what you want that person to do after your discussion. If you note that kind of behavior is not changing, start fighting for yourself. Retaliate on your agreement. What have you agreed about her behavior or his behavior? Communicate if in the future that person has forgotten or disrespected your discussion before about what his behavior toward you. Then if all of that is not working, then you need to follow the right route. Most of our offices, they have human resources. I don't know with other organizations, but there are places where you can talk about such behaviors if are happening, and you see that there's no change toward that. And hopefully that even the alum group, I think, yes, it has a platform on what to be done if the person is not changing the behavior or continuously repeating the same behavior that they have asked to stop. So the other things that you can also do, if you're noting that you're trying to get help, but at work they're not helping you, you could always look for a place or for organization that are separate from your place of work, or in the same department or the different unit, where you can find someone who will be unbiased about the decision to be taken, or who will give a proper outcome of what could be done to the offender or the perpetrator of the sexual harassment. And where the matter escalates, then it is advisable that you report the case to the police if it's not helping to report at your workplace. Thank you. All right. According to the information that we need to share, we need also to discuss about the increase of gender-based violence and rape. To be honest, is that we cannot strictly have exactly or to say these are the reasons for sexual abuse, but let us look at how does it take place, maybe, and then if it happens, we'll also talk about possible maybe behaviors and things that can make people or can lead people to end up having such behaviors. Gender-based violence is a violence directed against a person because of their gender. Most of the time, we know that most people who come forward who have been violated are women and children. We also noting the high rate of people who what do we call it? Homosexuals, yes, with there are different categories of that. There are too many now, transgenders and what more. So women and men, we also note that women and men, they are also experiencing gender-based violence, but the majority, as I have explained before, it's women and children, as we're also noting most of the time in our news. I don't think now we'll end the week without hearing anything that has to say something about a woman being killed, woman being abused, sexual abuse, rape, and what more. So the majority of people who are experiencing that are females most of the time. Gender-based violence are emphasized as a resulting in physical, sexual, psychological, economic harm or suffering to women. Okay, most of the time is, as we have mentioned before, it's perpetrated toward women. And when it include physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, psychological abuse, threat, and more, we note that in these situations, most of our women, you find that because of being deprived with education, they're unable to get proper jobs and able to be completely independent. So most of the time they will be depending on the people who are abusing them, but it's not strictly focusing on the relationship, people who in a relationship. It's also involve other people whom are not in a relationship. Can we go for another one? Okay. We also have noted that in 1 in 3 women has experienced physical and sexual abuse. Noting that with the information that we are receiving, the people that we have see in most cases, even if a person can come to you with another problem, you'll always get the information that somewhere, somehow, there is a report that has to do with sexual abuse, physical abuse, sexual harassment, or a person has been a victim of sexual abuse before or being stalked by someone. Thank you. Can I continue? Then we look at what could be done with the gender-based violence. We are not saying exactly these are the only things, but there are more things that could be done. So it is important that as people, mostly who are educated, who now know better than, when you're coming from a very disadvantaged community, it is important that you try and help your community or people around you in promoting early intervention that focuses on promoting relationship between girls and boys while they're still young, while they still having those friendship relationship before they even form lover relationship or partner relationship, so that at least they grew up knowing how to respect each other, knowing that they are equal in every aspect. We encourage that victims themselves, survivors of gender-based violence, also try as much as possible to break the silence, report the cases of gender-based violence as early as possible. If you are going through a situation, you don't keep quiet. Try find help while it's still starting. Because I've noted that in most cases, whereby we help people with counseling, when a person is, I would say, empowered enough, and then noting that maybe the boyfriend or husband is showing anger issues, other problems that a person can go through, because other mental issues, psychological issues that people are going through can also perpetuate the gender-based violence. So if the partner act on that as quick as possible, you'll find that that person can also attend their own problems and be able to become a better person and stop continuing with gender-based violence, as if we attend to it as early as possible. We also encourage that people need to seek help, both the victims and offender, as I was saying earlier on. Make use of your local professionals regular, like you do on your general checkups with your GP. Yes, it is very important that you don't only go to seek psychosocial assistance only when there is a problem. Sometimes just go there for general checkup, checking on your emotions, your stability of emotions, because it is very important that whenever we go through some situation in our life, in our past, we always need to ensure that we are not growing up carrying all those burdens or all those problems that we have faced before and not doing anything about it. Other things that are general and that can also help, it's exercise, mental wellness, mental health. Talk to mental health professional, exercise regular, eat healthy, get involved with people who add value in your life. That one is a very important point, to have people and surround yourself with people who can add a value in your life. It's a very important point that anyone needs to make sure that whenever you in your life, make sure that you surround yourself with people who can add value for your own growth, for your own mental health, for your well-being. It is important. Thank you. Next slide, please. Can we move down with the slide, please? Thank you. And then we'll look at rape. As far as we know rape, we all know that rape, that is an unlawful sexual intercourse with a woman. It can be any other gender without that person's consent. Rape is always consensual. We all know that if it's between the two people who knows each other. But still, performing sexual intercourse with a young child, it is a rape, even if that child has agreed to have sexual intercourse with you. So that is what we call a statutory rape. and they are different. There are many different forms of rape: statutory rape, date rape, relationship rape, and the one that we always know, stranger rape. Or when someone is taking you out for a date and then they rape you, those we call date rape. And also, I'm sorry, I don't think this point was supposed to be here, where I said under influence of alcohol and drugs, but it can also be a rape to sleep with someone who has consumed or under toxic of anything, of any drugs, to sleep with that person, because that person is taken as someone who is unable to give a consent. In trying to clarify what we're going through, I thought we should look at the understanding of what is sexual assault and consent. Sexual abuse, referred to as molestation, it is a force of undesired sexual behavior by another person. Sexual assault can range from unwanted sexual contact, including folding, inappropriate touches, to a life-threatening attack like a rape or any other penetration of mouth, vagina, anus, and it can also be drug-facilitated sexual assault. Sexual assault may leave sometimes no outward signs, but it is still a crime. If you note, sexual assault, it's more related to sexual harassment, because in this person can touch you inappropriately, they can fondling on you. I think that one, it's even more deeper, because this person is doing a sexual act, but on top of your clothes, up until they get pleasures. And then we'll talk about consent. It is, we need to understand or also take that into consideration, that all the time we need to require the consent. The consent involves two people who are in a relationship or whom want to sleep together. Is required to be involved in any form of sexual activities. That means whenever you want to have sex with someone, you can't just do it because they have been kissing with you, they have been laughing with you, or they have been showing, because sometimes the people will say, but this person has been showing that he wants me or she wants me. No, you must request for sexual activity. You can't just do it. In terms of our South African law, someone cannot consent if they are sleeping, if they are unconscious and under the influence of alcohol and drugs. I think that top point was meant for this. A person who has been consuming a lot of alcohol, who have been taking drugs, a person who have taken maybe some medication that caused them to be unconscious or whatever things, they cannot give the consent. So if you are in a position or you want to have sexual intercourse with someone, make sure that they are sober and able to give a consent or say no. To continue with the consent can never be assumed, meaning that you cannot think that I want sex with you because we have done it before, or maybe my behavior in your eyes appeared to appear that I wanted something. You cannot assume that I also want it. You also cannot assume that someone is consenting because the person has consented in the past. Yeah, I have already explained that if I have agreed before, it does not mean I want it now. It is where we both willingly and verbally agreed to engage in a specific sexual act. So all the time, we must agree that we want to go further, even if we started kissing. Just because you are involved with someone or regularly kissing them does not mean that your body is at your disposal. Whenever you whenever you sing someone and maybe you used to engage in a sexual intercourse, it does not mean they want it all the time. Ask for permission, then you can go on for an act. Even if you have kissed before, it does not mean that they want more than that. Always respect a person, respect their space, respect their body. Ask for whatever you are looking for, if they want or if they don't. You must always ask for a consent. Let's continue. I think this is the end of my story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mthembu, for that very informative discussion. Can I ask if there's any questions? I'm just trying to look at the conversation chat. I don't see any questions. Is there anybody that has any questions?
We do have Tabani Roberts Kumalo with their hand raised.
Tabani, can you unmute your mic and ask your question, please?
Good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you very much, Sister Mandisa, for such an interesting and very informative presentation indeed. Yeah, guys, I'm sort of like coming from a labor dispute environment, and we dealt with cases, labor dispute matters, and some of the cases back then were involving sexual harassment. And it was very, very difficult to actually deal with such matters in that forum because sexual harassment has always been defined as something that is subjective on the person experiencing it or receiving it. For instance, in the same environment that we were working in, we had male colleagues, and some of the males were gay. And the so-called straight men would sometimes make funny jokes about gay men and maybe call them darlings, hello, sweetie, and all those things. And there was this other instance where the very same other gay guy responded and said, hello, baby, how are you, sweetie pie, and blew quick kisses at the straight guys. And they took so much offense, whereas they themselves were also making funny comments about gay people. And the matter went on and on to a point where it actually reached the CCMA. So I'm just saying that they are sexual harassment is very, very technical to deal with because it is firstly subjective to an individual. Also, you mentioned something about the getting the actual consent. Now, let me just play a devil's advocate here. Let's say I live with my partner, of course, and we've been doing the deed for some time. And do I always have to get a verbal confirmation that, you know, baby, tonight is the night we want to do it? Since you said we must not misinterpret, or you must get the actual consension towards sex. Yeah, that's just my question. Thank you very much.
Sis Mandisa, you're on mute. Yeah.
Thank you. I think I get the one for the consent. Can anyone help me? Is there another one with is there another question from Tabani besides the one for the consent? I think that what I get properly is he was asking about.
Yeah, I think he wanted to know about consent with his partner, live-in partner.
Yes. Okay. What I would say with regard to the partner relationship thing, you know each other. You used to have the deeds, and what you need to do at least confirm. Are you okay? Are you still feeling right? Do you like what we're doing? I think if we all exercise such behavior most of the time, we will never be in a bad position. As long as we always exercise what we have learned now, ask if the person is still comfortable, if this person is still happy with what you are doing, so that you don't find yourself in the situation where you ended up being seen as a rapist at the end of the intercourse. Yeah, that's what I can suggest. If you are in a relationship, you with your partner, you use not to communicate about it. Start now. Ask the person if he is comfortable, is still happy with what you are doing, and move. Thank you.
I have another question from Ingrid.
It's not so much a question as an easy way to answer the question that was just asked. If the partner says no, then it means no. I don't think it's so much, well, perhaps it's not so much a case of, are you in the mood, can we do it tonight? It's a case of, if the partner says, no, I've got a headache, or I'm not interested tonight, that would perhaps be the better way to go about it.
Yes, I'm tired, or whatever the reason, yeah. Thank you, Ingrid.
Our next question, I think, is Becky Shabalala, if you want to ask your question.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Becky Shabalala. I work here at DUT. You get me? You hear me?
Can you just speak a little bit louder and then we'll be able to hear you?
Okay. I'm actually shouting here because I know this computer is always giving people problems. But what I wanted to speak about was that I think the first person who actually asked a question stated that, colleagues were always, playing with each other, etc., especially those that are gay and those that are straight. And then this matter ended up at CCMA. To be quite frank, I don't think that should have been the case. Sexual harassment has become so technical, but it's straightforward. It's in the Labor Relations Act, and it's written straight and to the point. So what I would suggest is that, so that everybody does not get confused, the rules must be clear and they must be presented as they are presented here by Mandisa. Everyone must know, for instance, that whistling at the women or even at maids is actually sexual harassment. A minor thing like that, some people will be surprised. In Zulu culture, there's something called ukshigila. I don't know whether you've heard of this. People may not have known about this, but in the past, men would ask a woman, "Angshigilele." In other words, show me your thighs, Now, that thing is frowned upon in today's culture. It's not wanted. It might have been okay in the past because there was no sexual harassment as such, but you can't do that these days. In fact, you will be arrested if you force women to display, their thighs to you. So what I'm trying to drive at is that You know, the rules must be clear, because that is what CCMA actually advocates. The rules must be clear. You can't charge a person if the rules are not known. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mandisa? Or has she answered everybody's questions? Mr. Ngubane?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Ronel. And thank you very much to Sis Mandisa for a presentation. I suppose I have a question that may have been addressed on a number of occasions. But I think that it's important to address this question, because I think it's quite a complex one, and maybe we can maybe have some discussion. And this one relates more to sexual assault, gender-based violence. Because we have, and I'm not an expert, but it seems that there have been a number of reports, and it seems that there is a tendency for individuals, I'm not going to say specifically women, but for individuals in general who are subjected to some form of gender-based violence, to refrain from reporting and or taking action against the abuser or perpetrator. And so my question is, in your practical experience, having worked for about 12 years or so in the field, in your practical experience, what are the key reasons for this tendency generally for people not to, or to be fearful of coming forward to report that particular individual who is subjecting them to that form of abuse? Thank you.
If I get it correctly, I would say I normally note the relationship. Let me respond from what I've been noting in my previous cases. I normally note the relationship between the survivor and the offender. Most of the time, that is the key reason for the people not to come forward. Maybe that person is known, like we have talked about the issue of that was raised by Taban. We in a relationship, everybody knows that this is my husband or this is my boyfriend, I'm living with him. What people would say, what my family would say, like, because there is a middle thing that is in between them, the relationship is the cause. Now, because we are in a relationship, so if I come out with this thing, who will believe me? And sometimes, one, it's a relationship, what I've noted. Number two is dependency, whereby they still under these people, maybe because the wife or girlfriend is not working and the boyfriend is working, providing and everything. Maybe this person has left home and family did not want that. So now they don't have any place to go to. Those are the most thing that we are facing whenever we come across the people who are unable to come forward. Other reason, it could be because it's someone who is well known in the community, the pastor, inyanga, or community leader who will believe you than that person. Most of the time, it's the fear of what others would have said when I come out. Would they believe me? Would not? It's mainly caused by the trauma that the person is going through. Meanwhile, the incident is happening, and then the questions that a person himself or herself is asking before they even thinking of coming forward. Others, they have heard the previous report and the previous response from community, TVs, radios, newspapers, that whenever they come out, they come across this situation. And lately, what I have noted, since we have, sorry to say this, but since we have seen the cross-examination of Pastor Omatoso and the case, most of our clients, they feel like, am I going to be cross-examined in this manner? You know, those are the things that discourages people to come out, that maybe if I go out, if I come out, this is what is going to happen to me. All the questions that they have heard people being asked, I've noted it's also causing people to feel like not be confident to come out. But it's so many things, not just the few that I have picked up.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, dear.
Is there any more questions that we have for Mandisa? I'm just noting the time, guys. It's 5 to 4 now. If you've noticed in the text box, I've actually put in the website of Jess Ford Foundation. And if you guys do have any questions or you do want to support, because they are a non-profit organization, and you can see how much of projects and services that they do offer. So you can follow the website link and then just assist them in any way, or if you just want to find out more, or if you have questions that you may not want to ask on this platform and ask on a one-on-one basis, then just contact the Jess Ford Foundation. Just quickly, guys, I want to just borrow your ears for a few moments. Has nothing to do with our topic today, but just want to quickly discuss the COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, it has made an impact directly or indirectly in all our lives. It is with this thought in mind that the Durban University of Technology, in conjunction with the Department of Health, launches our vaccination program at the Richardson campus. Will be utilized as a vaccination center, and we encourage each and every one of you to vaccinate yourselves against this crippling virus. As mentioned, the vaccination site will be hosted at the Hotel School at the Richardson campus from the 8th to the 15th of September 2021. All you need to do is carry your ID book. And now I'd like to hand over back to Mr. Ngubane, who will proceed with the vote of thanks. I'm also just going to add, guys, in the text section, the information about the vaccination, and you are more than welcome to ask me any questions if you do have anything about the vaccination site. Mr. Ngubane?
Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity and for handling the program so well. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Advancement and Alumni Relations Office, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Ms. Mandisa Mthembu for shedding further light for us on some of the various aspects of gender-based violence. And obviously its various permutations, whether it's sexual harassment in the workplace, whether mild, subtle, or really obvious and blatant. I think that it's important that we talk about these issues as much as we can and learn as much as we can, because as we have noted from the talk, there can be very subtle ways in which people can be violated, and so the more we learn, I believe the more we empower ourselves to ensure that we do not engage in or do not become subjected to such acts. So I think this was a very, very important discussion or topic to have, and we really do appreciate you, Ms. Mandisa, for outlining and really just clarifying some of these issues for us. So we really appreciate that. And I'd also like to thank all of our guests, attendees, colleagues, staff, students, alumni present, for taking time out of your schedules to be with us and listen in and engage with us on the conversations. We appreciate the discussion points raised because they also help us better understand the various aspects of this particular matter. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the team from the Advancement and Alumni Relations Office, especially Ms. Ronelle, for her hard work put into arranging and planning this particular webinar as our Alumni Relations Coordinator, and of course the rest of the team behind her as well, supporting and making sure that invitations go out and that people are notified accordingly. So we'd just like to thank, I'd like to thank the Advancement and Alumni Relations Office, the team, and also I know that we work very closely with Corporate Affairs as well. So thank you to the Corporate Affairs Division for the support that they lend to us. I did note that Ms. Wahida Peters was also part of the participants from Corporate Affairs. So we thank you for the support and that you continuously lend us. So, ladies and gentlemen, we could spend the whole day just expressing our appreciation and gratitude for availing yourselves, but it's just to say thank you so much, and we really do hope that you have learned something new today that you can take away that empowers you in some way, shape, or form, and we hope that we can begin to see an impact. And as I said, the more we talk about these matters, I think the better. So we can begin then hopefully to see an impact in our society where we see less and less of these acts being perpetrated, because we've come to a point where we now know and fully understand that such behavior is not acceptable, because it becomes a cultural norm. It becomes a practice that seems to be acceptable. As I think Mr. Shabalala indicated earlier, that there was a time, historically, where it used to be seen as okay to ukshigila. But we now understand, given our current times, that such is not acceptable. So it's a cultural thing as well that we need to work against it. So we thank you very much for having joined us and participated, and hope that you've learned something. And we hope that you will join us next month for our next session. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you.